Good evening, fans of Rando, and welcome to Speed Gaming 2 for this presentation of the Speed Gaming Daily Race Series, a fast randomizer daily race, and Open 7-7 seed this evening. We have two featured runners on stream today. We have Jotham and Man 1382. I am Lying DM, and I am joined in the booth for a very first time commentary by Jarok13. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. Hi, everybody. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. I just got off of a race myself, and now it is time to do a little commentary instead.
Sounds pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, try not to confuse the new person, please.
So we ought to be getting underway here just a little after the top of the hour. We have, it looks like, 6 entrants in our race this evening, including our 2 featured runners, of course. Seems that we may have a slight technical difficulty on the side of one of them, so we are going to hold on just a moment here.
Sounds good.
But in the meantime, we've had all kinds of Link to the Past randomizer action. We've got the main tournament going on with games being broadcast here on Speed Gaming. The Challenge Cup is also into its round of 16 by and large, I believe it is. Just
wow, it's already that far ahead.
Handful of racers left in both of those, and we've got some really good matches coming up.
Good luck to everybody that's left over. I believe that was hard mode settings.
The main tournament is running hard standard. The hard mode settings are our thing. You don't get silvers. All 4 of the swords are in the pool, but the 4th one turns into a green 20 once you found the other 3. It's a little less important to us tonight since we're just running normal settings all the way around for this Open 7-7 race, but a lot of people are going to be familiar with that hard standard now that so many people have been playing it for so many months.
I haven't dabbled in the hard mode settings myself, but kudos to those who can actually complete the seed.
Yeah, there are a lot of people whose skill levels really took a giant leap forward when they were trying to qualify for that tournament with the practice races beforehand. A lot of people I know really took several steps forward, while people like me who didn't think the mode sounded all that interesting and didn't enjoy it kind of stayed in the same place. So what we have tonight is just regular rando to answer the question in chat. This is Open 7-7. You know, there are no other strange things about it. You can start at the house or you can start at the sanctuary. You don't start with any particular weapons, and you have to go find everything you need to beat the seed and beat Ganon.
I like to call that the rando vanilla.
It is kind of rando vanilla. You know, some people have standard as their starting point. Some people like me have open as their starting point, but here we are underway. It appears that both of our runners have decided that they want a house start, and yeah, it looks like both of them heading to Uncle. Hopefully our tracker caught that map check, because all I saw was the crystal at Eastern Palace.
Yeah, I think that's all I saw too.
This is a fairly textbook play by both runners, using that sign to set up a tier 1 tree pole by killing that blue guard.
So hope that Uncle's got something nice today, maybe? I mean, not bad. It's got its uses.
It's one of the nicer safeties in the game, absolutely. Now, of course, more of that comes into play in the Dark World, where you run into more of the anti-fairies and bunny beams and so forth, but, you know, it's nice to have all the same. We'll see both of them go ahead and make this swap over to probably Sanctuary. Yeah, there's Hitman as well. You know, again, probably going to follow those general book plays, plus or minus a check of Lumberjack Ledge, get the forest cleared out of 2 items, go over to the village for a whole bunch, and by then, hope that the seed has actually given you some kind of direction.
Yeah, I personally usually check the Lumberjack, just so that I have that out of the back of my mind. Or then I know if it's something I actually have to remember. And then pray I remember it.
It's one of those locations where you spend the extra 20 or so seconds checking it, and it appears that Hitman is actually going to go ahead and check that for us. And, sometimes you've just spent 20 seconds, but sometimes you've gained yourself a good 15 or 20 minutes because you know exactly whether or not you need to do AGA when you've found the boots to go get an item here.
It's just like a piece of heart, though, so probably not coming back for that.
As long as he's properly tracked the location either in his mind or on a map tracker of some kind, unlikely to be coming back for that. Unless later, of course, he decides that he wants to start memeing and trying to hit the 20 heart marker. Which, stranger things have happened on Restream, right?
I can't say I've seen it personally, but I have seen somebody drag the frog around for an eternity. So...
That's good. I've actually seen somebody take the frog all the way into the Ganon fight before.
I think I know exactly who you're talking about. I think I remember that scene.
Looks like Joss is still not finding any bombs, and not having any there in the back of the bar is going to go ahead and take some of these rupees and buy them.
Yeah, it always sucks when you have to, but you gotta do what you gotta do.
The alternative being possibly leaving checks behind in the village, and those are some of the more difficult ones to remember. If you're really used to clearing out everything, including all of the bomb stuff, those times that you don't, it becomes really difficult to remember. I still have to go back there. Hitman also following suit with that bomb purchase, so we'll see some more checks up here in the northern part of the village here momentarily. But so far the seed not really giving our runners any pointers.
Definitely not a Stackerico today, at least not yet.
There are still a few chances for that.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, the glove is a nice start.
I spoke too soon. And blue mail, always nice.
It's a good safety to have, especially in the early game when you're still on 5 hearts. If Dark World access happens to come up soon, that substantially cuts down on the amount of damage you take just walking around the world. But let's go ahead and have a look at the 5 items in Blind's old hideout.
Very, very nice cane there.
It doesn't do a whole lot in the light world, but it does everything from hold down switches to allow you to complete a couple of dungeons to cracking a couple of dungeons right in half. It does yeoman's work in the dark world.
It's also nice for... Oh gosh, words.
I'm a fan of it in Mini Moldorm Cave. Is that where you were looking for?
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. I'm like, what is the word for those guys? That's what I was thinking.
Those annoying guys who like to try and bump you off of their ledges, especially when you're just trying to hit them with bombs. It's not always the easiest thing in the world, although some runners make it look easy.
Yeah, I've tried bomb strats a few times. I'm not the most successful at it, but it's definitely satisfying to see it at the first try.
And Joss has decided that he has not seen nearly enough out of this village, is going to go ahead and blind run the race game. It looks like even though Hitman has checked Lumberjack, that he's maybe making up a couple of seconds here. Maybe it just feels like he's closing in, but Here we are, and he's going to gain a little more time back as he actually checks the race game, which Joss just saw only has 10 sticks at the end of it. I don't think there's any particular surprise here that both of our runners are going to take that glove, the one real Light World progression item they found, and go straight to the back of Escape.
No, that definitely makes sense. And then my guess is, depending on what they find, probably head down to South Shore. It's an even nicer glove.
The mitts are certainly a nice find there. Of course, without the Moon Pearl, I don't think that's actually going to change anybody's idea of what they want to do next, but here's Joss with a play into the dark. He's going to go ahead and try and make it to Dark Cross, having found that small key. And having failed to quickly locate the rat, has decided that discretion is the better part of valor and is going to go ahead and nope on out.
And Dark Cross is definitely one of those harder dark rooms, depending on what you have in terms of a weapon on hands.
It's a little easier with the sword, it's a little easier with the fire rod. Of course, you hope to just have the lamp and not have to worry about all the additional shenanigans, but, sometimes you don't, and sometimes there's something really nice there, and you want to give it the go. But instead, as you surmised, we do have both runners going ahead and starting these South Shore checks. The item inside the dam, not really valuable to them, but maybe we're going to see a decent flooded treasure here.
Oh, unfortunately, not what they're looking for.
No, that doesn't even rise to the level of decent, I don't think. That needed to be at least a hundo. Both of our runners a little under 100 away, well, a little over, rather, 100 away from Zora money. And we have a little bit of divergence. Hitman's going to go ahead and make the Dam to Agena play, trying not to orphan Sphere 1 locations, a play that I'm personally a fan of, while Joss is just going to head to Mini Moldorm Cave and hope for the best. A reasonable mix of bomb and Samaria strats there, sees him on through, and there's the lamp. And a bow. Suddenly we have pointers at Eastern Palace popping up.
I was to say that's probably exactly where they might head.
Looks like he might have a little thoroughness on the mind here with the Ice Rod Cave. Again, it's another one of those that's not always the easiest thing to get to. You kind of hope that you have boots or flute to get over here, but sometimes the boots or the flute are just in here. So a lot of runners do like to try and prevent this from being an item location that really comes back to bite them.
It's definitely one of those checks that if you don't check it early, it's usually a last location.
Joss is getting a little bullied by crabs there, while Hitman is bombing Mini Moldorms left, right, and center.
Not as hard of a hit with the blue mail, but still not fun.
And Hitman, having made that play to Agena's cave, has decided that Ice Rod Cave is not interesting. Now, he doesn't know, but he's right, unless he wants those 3 bombs later. So our runners are going to go ahead and sync up here again, 3 items in Agena's closet, and then a logical full clear of Eastern Palace. It's a crystal dungeon, they need to beat it eventually anyway, and, well, they're still looking for at least a Moon Pearl for Dark World access. Be interesting to see if that happens to be in the closet, if either of them decides to go ahead and nope out of the immediate Eastern play.
I could see it play for both. Might as well dip it while you're here, but I know a lot of runners like to have Mod and Eastern together.
Sadly, no Moon Pearl there, so Joss at least, and it looks like Hitman is going to follow right on his heels, are going to go ahead and make that play into Eastern Palace. Makes all the sense in the world. The other option would be to go up the mountain for 2 checks and a sight check on a third. Entirely possible that something's up there, but right now you have the density of a crystal dungeon that you already have full logical access to. Seems reasonable.
And you have to beat it anyway.
Yeah, you have to beat it sooner or later. The hope in putting it off would be maybe that you can find boots or something to make it a little quicker to clear out later. There are a lot of straightaways in Eastern Palace. Now, while we're waiting to see another item, let's play What If for a second. What if they do find the Moon Pearl here? What play do you like next?
I don't know. Personally, I might go into Village of Outcasts, maybe, depending on what else they might find here.
That is kind of the outstanding question, isn't it? And, you know, again, the other real play would be Death Mountain, and it's still just 2 items there. Going in at Village of Outcasts gives you a lot more options, especially with that glove. But it wouldn't be the first time that I've seen somebody think, you know what, those 2 items on the mountain, this lamp and this glove showed up so early, maybe something like my hookshot's just up there. Josh showing us another item in here, just 10 sticks. We don't seem to be making a lot of forward progress with this Eastern, but, you know, putting the crystal on the board is still going to be nice. Full heart container, and we're going to see the Vanilla Big Key location. One item left here. We have a 50-50 shot of that either being in the Vanilla Big Key location or on the boss, and both of our runners are not willing to leave that behind. When you're still looking for the Moon Pearl for Dark World access, I like this play. This is a very difficult check to come back to sometimes.
I'd say it's definitely like the furthest away in terms of an item in the dungeon, because you have to go all the way around again.
And if you leave and come back, you have to go back through most of the front part of the dungeon as well, but it's just 3 bombs. That was the final item, but not the thing they're looking for. Looks like Hitman had a little trouble with the damage boost. Damage boosted too far and was kind of bounced off of the other side of that cloud of fake anti-parries. And so is going to go to the vanilla strat of just killing everything in the room to make them disperse. I'll say at 417 rupees that I'm mildly surprised that Joss did not go for the rupee room here. Would have put him in range of Zora money. Let's see if Hitman decides that that's the play.
Doesn't look like it.
No, it seems that both of them are going to go ahead and bypass it. Joss going to be the first of our 2 featured runners into the boss fight this evening. Seems to be set up pretty well for this Armo's quick kill. And he has it.
Always a very nice kill to watch.
That is first crystal on the board for Joss Bleedin at 15 minutes and 52 seconds. Hitman is going to be following behind very shortly. Both of them seem to be just a little bullied by this last red Igor in the room right before the Armos Knights. So we've got Joss going back to the house, is going to go ahead and do the front of the escape sequence, it looks like. I don't know that this is... it's maybe a little more dense than the mountain play, but I don't know that he saves a whole lot of time here. Actually, winding your way all the way down to Zelda's cell does take a little while.
We'll see if Hitman does the same thing.
Our tracker pointing out that she believes that they do not yet have the map, and I believe that she is correct, but there is first sword there in the escape sequence, and I think Hitman's following right along behind. Once again, these runners appear to be pretty much in lockstep. One of them decided Agina's Cave was the play, the other one decided Ice Rod, but they've both left one of those kind of out-of-the-way Sphere 1 locations behind. And other than that, they're generally doing exactly the same things. Joss, I know, is still alive in the Challenge Cup, awaiting an opponent for his next round, so he's pretty used to all of these various weapons used in the escape sequence. And of course there isn't any runner, I don't think, who's not happy to see the sword show up. The sword is kind of the gold standard when it comes to dealing with any enemy.
And there's the Zora money for sure. The question is, does he go and check Zora?
It looks like he is going to opt for the mountain instead, and I can understand this. You kind of hope to find... Well, I say that, and then he's going to come over here and set up a Houlihan, I think. Except he's thrown himself into the back. Did he intend to throw himself into the back? He did. Well,
I guess, like our tracker said, Dark Cross still hasn't been obtained yet.
Yeah, this is true. Now that he has found the map, he knows that there is something here, and with the lamp on hand, it's really easy to just come running in and grab it. Looks like Hitman has similar designs, is intentionally lowering his health on that ball and chain guard to set up a death warp. We'll be hitting the Dark Cross from the front rather than the back.
I wonder which way is faster. I've never actually timed it out.
The death warp is pretty quick. Save and quitting takes a little longer. You've also got a couple of additional screen transitions there, getting out of the long walk through the sanctuary. I'm pretty sure Hitman gained time there. But having found just those bombs, Joss is going to go ahead and head for the mountain. The mountain is calling his name. I expect that, as usual, Hitman is going to have the very same idea as soon as he sees these bombs in Dark Cross. Actually having the lamp when saving the old man, this is kind of a novelty.
I was going to say, I rarely ever see this happen, let alone it coming from the start of the tunnel. Usually it's going backwards.
Yeah, you know, usually it's you walk out into the light and suddenly a wild old man appears and hands you $300 and sends you on your way. But that means that Joss is really down to this Spectacle Rock Cave location, and Zora, I think. From his perspective, he also has Agina. And from Hitman's perspective, he'll also have Ice Rod Cave, but sooner or later we're actually going to have to see this Moon Pearl.
There's a bottle, which now will open up Stick Kid, which is then another check.
Well, it'll open up if they happen to find a mirror somewhere, and they do not have one just yet.
This is true. I always forget about the mirror.
Well, normally the old man just hands it to you, and then you're okay, but, well, we're not playing NMG this evening, so the items are not necessarily going to be in their vanilla locations. In fact, the likelihood is that they are not going to be. Which is why one of the cruelest things that Rando can do is put the item in its vanilla location, or even just its vanilla dungeon.
I believe they call that French vanilla.
Hitman, also seeing that bottle, is going to see this heart container inside, and decides, no, you know what, blue mail and the 7 hearts that I have are enough, I'm going to leave that one sit. Joss sees that 20 from Gina. Hitman, we'll see if he goes to Ice Rod before Zora or after. I would think before, but maybe not.
It looks like he might be heading to Ice Rod Cave and then possibly do a fake flipper just to get up there a bit faster.
And this is interesting. Joss is going to take the whirlpool that puts him out by the witch's hut here and is going to go to Zora the intended way with the glove. You know, with no Moon Pearl not actually going to be able to get into the waterfall cave just yet, so it makes sense from his perspective. Given how few locations are left, I can understand not wanting to fake flipper to Hobo before just going right on up to Zora. And Hitman finds that bomb replenishment planted there in the Ice Rod Cave, and now also knows that Zora is calling his name, says, I have something you need to go beat this seed. And it does not necessarily have to be the hookshot. We could have a mirror to get up to Hera, we could have a hookshot to get to the other side of the mountain. Moon Pearl, of course, would just be the Dark World access our runners have been looking for. Maybe even a book to go into desert, and as Professor Pixie points out, yes, flippers would enable a few other flipper locations.
Yes, we could have vanilla flippers.
I've seen vanilla flippers a couple of times recently. It's not always the easiest thing to actually land upon. But no, it's just the Moon Pearl, couple of ticks after 24 minutes for Joss, and Hitman's maybe 15 seconds behind there. So we'll have some Dark World access likely to be going in right at the village. Really the only option at the moment. And then our runners get more choices. Do you want to go north into Skull Woods with no fire rod? Do you want to go south into the Village of Outcasts and then into Thieves Town with no hammer? Or do you just kind of want to do an overworld loop and wind up at Hype Cave and see if you've been given any more information from the seed by then? Joss giving us the map check. We have pendants at Thieves and Pod. We've got 5-6 at Turtle Rock.
Looks like he might check the first few chests of Skull Woods.
This is a play that I'm personally a fan of because going into Thieves Town without the hammer, not great. Also, Thieves Town, the pendant, you kind of don't want to do much with it anyway. Maybe you find a mirror here so that you can get out from the front four a little more readily. And of course, as we were just discussing with potential French vanilla items, sometimes the fire rod is just tucked away in the front of Skullwoods. And here we are, once again, our two runners seem to be of one mind of how to play the seed, both of them going north to Skull Woods, both of them going to check that middle chest first.
I definitely feel like this is a lot more common play now. A lot of people like to treat the first four chests of Skull Woods almost like overworld.
There are a lot of people who do that. I count myself among them, so you're certainly not wrong as far as I'm concerned. I do know some people who are very, very against going into Skull Woods when they have no fire rod, and sometimes it really works out for them, and sometimes it burns them mightily. But, well, that's rando. The same can be said for any choice of, do I go to this location or not? It appears that our tracker, Professor Pixie, may also be on team just go into Skull Woods, darn it. Oh no! Pixie is going to join the opposition there. The loyal opposition of Rando, who says, do not go into Skull Woods until you can clear the dungeon. So Joss is out and is going to have a brief look at Bumper Ledge, which has another one of those full heart containers that we are not going to see again this game, aside from when Hitman checks the location, I don't think. Blue Cane and the Tin Bomb Pack are the only things on offer there in Skull Woods. The first safety item is not bad. Once the hammer shows up, maybe you start thinking about Spike Cave.
It's a nice sword.
Always nice to find the second sword. You need at least two of them to beat the game. Now, I don't think there's any runner playing the game who is more comfortable on the second sword than the third one. Finding Tempered always feels pretty good. But our runners are still missing an awful lot of things. Probably not really front of mind that I'd like another sword right now. Probably more like, I'd like the hook shot and the fire rod and, you know, a medallion or two might be nice. Mirror would be pretty good, and boots and flippers and hammer. Yeah, there are all kinds of things our runners are still looking for, but not the silvers any longer.
Yeah, definitely no silver hunt, although I wouldn't be surprised if these runners could do silverless cannon.
I know that a lot of people say, and I kind of agree, that Master Sword Silvers is somehow a little more difficult than Master Sword Silverless. At least with Master Sword Silverless, you can kind of get into a rhythm and get your spins going, remembering to spin at the right time to actually turn Ganon silver with those the Master Sword so that you can stick the silver sticks into them. Kind of questionable. And there's the front four of thieves paying out. Joss Bleedon has discovered the mirror. And Hitman's going to be getting that just again, maybe 15 seconds after him. Ooh, and the Ice Rod. The Ice Rod in front four of Pendant Thieves, 100% required, as Turtle Rock is a crystal today. It's actually part of our 5-6 Wombo combo. And Pixie, I'm in your head because we're players of Rando, and we know how Rando likes to rando every once in a while. So front four was enough for Joss, and I'm guessing, given the way everything else has gone so far, that it's going to be enough for Hitman as well. Does have the mirror already at the ready. And indeed, he is out as well.
I don't blame them. They probably don't want to touch the rest of the dungeon until they may or may not know what's required for Pedpole.
Back of Thieves, kind of slow, especially when you don't have the boots. And you know, when you find your ice rod and your mirror and I believe it was the second level shield in the front there to go along with the big key, you know there's only one item in the back, and why would you go there for one item when you've got all sorts of things on offer in the overworld yet?
What shall we be cursed with today?
Explosive seems to be the word of the day for the Siege when it's not handing out the actual progression items. So we'll see here. Joss is going to go ahead and turn in the Smith. It seems that maybe Hitman doesn't want to throw his portal away, but Joss is going to get his portal back, and
that is a very
Hitman
nice hammer.
not going to have to worry about it because the Smiths say, "We've got this spare hammer. Would you like?"
Hammer pegs, ever slow without the boots.
It's unfortunate, but you know, sometimes the boots are just in here, and if you try and put it off until you find the boots, then you feel terrible. Just a 50 this time, though. So we're going to have Joss and Hitman both with a little bit of a purple chest tour here. Hitman still needs to knock down all of these hammer pegs if he's got them on mind. And from that quick swap to hammer, I would think that he does. Joss deciding that that heart was not too far out of the way for him to go get. It makes sense. Still on the first row of hearts with the blue mail. You know, you're starting to get to the point where you're probably comfortable. Of course, you know, there are runners who say, well, if I have this many hearts, even if I'm on green mail, I'm comfortable, but maybe Joss is not necessarily in their number. I'm certainly not.
And I believe that was a bombos, so one of the nicer of the three medallions.
That was a bombos. We may need that to get into one or both of our crystal dungeons. It could also be our logical access to Ice Palace, although we're still missing flippers to make that a fully logical play. Hitman also wants that heart. And we'll probably see the play to Hype Cave from Joss here, and then how badly do you think he wants to do Pendant Palace of Darkness? You have the lamp, you have the hammer, you have the bow, so it's full clearable if you want it.
That is where the logic is pointing for sure.
Well, we are looking at a whole lot of tripe in Tripe Cave right until we hit the end, and in the end is the jackpot.
I'd say Boots automatically bumps that up to at least an 8 out of 10.
Yep, Boots is a nice one. Let's see where he wants to take them. thinks about trying to jump in the water, thinks better of it without the flippers before actually splashing in, is going to go over here and set up either a water walk or just a fake flipper. Looks like fake flipper time. So it appears to be an Ice Palace play. We will not see flippers in here, and anything that Joss finds in here will not lead to the flippers. But that doesn't mean that he couldn't find something else that he's looking for in here, like, say, the fire rod or the flute, or another sword even.
I'd say I'm a fan of this. With the cane, it makes it a lot faster with the icebreaker trick and everything.
This is one of those dungeons where Samaria was not originally intended necessarily, although there is a switch that you could use a Samaria block on theoretically, but the discovery of Icebreaker said, you know what, Ice Palace? You're slow. Let's make you not slow. Let's speed you up substantially. Joss seems to be having a little trouble with the initial bomb strat there, so has reverted to sword slashes to take care of these last couple of pin gators. While we actually have a little bit of divergence finally, with Hitman picking up those boots, and looks like Bonkrox is going to be the next play. Bonkrox King's Tomb, probably. And there is a logical bottle. Now, having found the mirror, we do have another logical bottle up there on the Spectacle Rock top and on the way to Crystal Hera that our runners could have gotten. And Hitman seems to be heading in that direction, so we finally have some honest-to-goodness route divergence on our hands. Joss rediscovering to his own disappointment that the bunny beam, once it starts moving, is no longer powderable, and has to wait out there in the cone of shame for a little while. And while he's moving on through Ice Palace, Hitman's going to start showing us the Tower of Hera. Compass showing up bright and early. And a small
Looks like
key.
we'll be getting a coffee break.
And with no hookshot on offer to our runners just yet, is going to go ahead and have to get the big key, which is once again tucked away in its vanilla location this evening. It is interesting to note that Joss decided to make a mildly out-of-logic play here, while Hitman has chosen to stay well within it. Now, here comes Hitman's big key. There are 2 items in 3 remaining locations. He does have to slay the worm for the crystal no matter what. Joss, with a nice free and easy bomb jump there, is going to go ahead and check the big chest here. Which contained one of his small keys, so it looks like we're going to go to the boss at this point. Since he's still checking everything, I have to think that he has yet to find what he's looking for here. Hitman turning up yet another pack of explosives is going to come up here and step on the star switch to fall down in the developer intended manner to check the big chest. There are some bomb jump strategies you can avail yourself of to get to that chest, but if you miss, you fall 2 floors, and falling 2 floors is slow.
Just a big 20 for his trouble.
So Tower of Heron not really paying out, aside of course from the fact that Hitman is about to pick up a second crystal here in just a minute, provided that the worm cooperates.
Yeah, we all know Moldorm can be quite the troll at times.
Joss doing some nice bobbing and weaving here, but Blink and you missed that Moldorm fight there from Hitman. That was pretty. And Joss is unfortunately down to Cold Stare, got pinned in that corner by a couple of puffs, and has taken a fall.
Air hugs are a little bit hard, unfortunately.
Without the benefit of one of those bottled safeties yet, was unable to stay on his feet. Hitman, of course, turned one of those up in the bonk check, and the other one grabbed off of the Spectacle Rock top here that Joss is going to get in a moment. While Hitman makes this quick dash through Spiral Cave, going to find just a piece of heart, doesn't even offer a refill. Stick Kid certainly could have the progression, although we do still have 7 items here in Paradox Cave. Our runners would hope to find something of value here. If not, there are also 2 checks in Super Bunny and the 1 bonkable location in Hookshot Cave.
Not bringing up a good point that Bombos entrance TR could make things much interesting.
And Hitman has located the flute here in Paradox Cave. I doubt that's nearly enough to get him to leave the mountain all on its own, but, you know, that will give him access to the Mire area here in the near future. The tables do seem to have turned ever so slightly with that unfortunate death that Joss took. We had Divergence, but now, aside from the fact that he's cleared the items, mostly from Ice Palace, we now have him following in Hitman's footsteps rather than the other way around. And TR just wants for Ether today, so that Bombos Medallion not our entry into Turtle Rock. Now that doesn't mean that it couldn't just be under the doormat here in one of these next 3 checks. $20 and a piece of heart, still no refill attached. He has to be getting close. Well, we know at the very least that he's halfway there now. But we do have this bonkable location in Hookshot Cave, and then if he wants, maybe the blue cane has been pointing towards the Spike Cave all this time. That's just a vanilla value there in that Hookshot Cave.
Other than Spike, I believe we're probably gonna end up back into Kakariko after this.
That's very possible. We do have the small child to visit. I think that Joss left an item behind on Cold Stare, so That's a 3-item dense location from Hitman's perspective at the moment, although, again, out of logic without the flippers showing up. And Joss, unfortunately, continuing to be bullied by bosses. At least Moldorm only knocks you down a floor. You don't have to come running all the way back up the tower.
Yeah, Moldorm not being as nice to Joss as it was to Hitman.
So there's Joss evening that crystal count back up at 2. Probably going to go ahead and head over to the eastern side of the mountain. We'll find that flute. And I don't think there was really a whole lot else there that Hitman really turned up. So maybe that Meyer area play is going to be calling our runners' names here now. Hitman going to go ahead and loose the goose here. We'll see if he decides to perform anything like a flute item dash, or... There are a few ways to go about doing that, but no, he wants to check the small child first. That's entirely reasonable. But no, there is the sick kid just handing away the week's lunch money. And that's very generous of the small child, but I think that his parents might have been happier if he had held on to that.
I'm sure the runners would be too.
Hitman now first into the Meyer area sees, okay, there's the Bombos medallion required for entry to Misery Mire. That's a crystal dungeon that we can complete. We have the required medallion to get in, we have the boots to walk across, Canis Amaria to hold down the switch in the back, and a lamp in case anything is on the firelock side. Seems that he's more interested in checking Checkerboard Cave first. Turns his nose right up at that red orang. I don't blame him.
So you're part of the blue is better family?
Oh, no, I am 100% Team Iron Boomerang. You know, the one attached to the chain and the red block on the other end that goes boyoyon? That's my favorite boomerang. Ooh, Breakman making a very solid point here in chat. What is Batman without a Batarang? I think we may have to deduct points from Hitman for this one.
I'm curious what the Batman bunny sprite is. Does anybody in chat happen to know?
Now Hitman is, as expected, going to go ahead and go into Misery Mire here. It's only 2 items dense, but, you know, the seed seems to be pointing at it fairly strongly. There's Joss getting the bad news in Hookshot Cave, and Hitman has found a small key in Misery Mire. There are 3 of them. You really don't need any, depending on how convolutedly you want to route. Getting a couple makes things a little easier. And now he most decidedly has a couple. He's got the 1 from under the pot and 2 of the 3 small keys from chests bright and early. Also making sure to fill up on a little bit of magic before he goes over to the firelock side. Joss, getting the bad news in Spike Cave, is going to go ahead and save quit back to the Sanctuary. We'll see a flute activation there, and I would imagine we're going to see him follow right along this play. Hitman with the big key there in Firelocked North is going to go ahead and check things that are not cutscene chest, find a 20 for his troubles. Joss finally turning up that bottled fairy there in the Bonk Rocks. Seems to think that now is the time to check the Lumberjack Ledge.
That makes sense. A lot of runners will put this off until they have boots, because until you have boots, you can't get it anyway.
It's a reasonable play, and he looks at it and says, well, you know, I kind of wish I'd kept on skipping it. Now, Hitman is choosing to be thorough here, is going to go ahead and do cutscene chest before going to the boss, it appears. It's a reasonable choice. It is, in fact, 50-50. The advantage to rushing the boss is the boss has a crystal that you get in anyway. And if the item's there, you're just done. Of course, the advantage to doing it this way is you don't have to do the first couple of screens of mire before you can actually get back to it. Joss also taking sick kids' lunch money and also fluting to mire. As expected, these runners still have very similar ideas about how they want to play with the logic of this seed.
Seems pretty linear so far. Not really a lot of opportunity divergence other than the fake flipper to Ice Palace.
Yeah, even in the limited opportunities that they've had to diverge, by and large, they haven't decided that they wanted to do them. Well, here's a very mild one. Joss is going to go ahead and go into Misery Mire before checking Checkerboard Cave.
I bring up a good question. I don't believe they have done Hobo. Do you remember?
Neither of these runners have fake flippered to Hobo. And Joss can theoretically save a little time here if he decides to go to the boss after getting one item and the big key, because Hitman found, I'm pretty sure, junk in the vanilla big key location, unless I just went totally blind for a second. That's what we have our wonderful tracker for, to notice these things just in case we don't.
Yes, shout out to our wonderful tracker.
Now, this is going to be here and a blink and you miss it vitreous fight on Hitman's side. These silver arrows, not really intended to be involved in this fight in the vanilla game. But one of them for each of the small eyeballs, 9 in total, and then 2 more into the main one, and vitreous just goes away. And that's not really progression.
No, but it's always nice to have.
Oh, it's a very nice thing to get, but both of our runners now have to be thinking, well, Hitman will, and Joss will when he gets there. What does this seed want of me? Did I leave something behind in the back of Thieves? Green Pendant Desert has to be the next play, though, I would think. And it appears that Hitman agrees with me. Unsurprising, from a density perspective, I don't think there is a better play here, unless you wanted to, I don't know. I don't think there is anything else. And there's the fire rod. That's all well and good, but right now all it really gives them is Skullwoods, and they have both items out of the front of Skullwoods. It was the blue cane and the tin bomb pack, so not really immediately incentivized to go there. It is a progression item, it just doesn't unlock anything immediately. Pendant Pod, as Twinkletights is mentioning, is much more likely as we make check by check. The Flippers in Desert Palace. Anybody in the mood for a vanilla hook? Hitman's going to take those flippers, says no thank you to the boss, says I got 2 wonderful progression items here in Pendant Desert. That green pendant can just sit there. Sorry, Saha, I have an ice palace to clear. So since we're just about an hour in, and he's going to show us some things that Joss has already shown us, unfortunately Joss, having taken a fall to Cold Stare, has not actually completed this dungeon, and Joss on his way down to fight Vitreous. So it's a good time to remind you, if you enjoy the show that the runners have been putting on for you, to go ahead and give them both a follow. Joss Bleeding and Hitman1382, putting themselves out there for our entertainment on a Tuesday evening. I will also say that my co-com is Jarok13, who has been doing a wonderful job, and our tracker is Professor Pixie. Edium has been pushing the buttons behind the scene, pulling this restream together. Thank you so much as well. So we have those flippers opening up a lot of flipper checks. Of course, the logical clear of ice was first on Hitman's mind. Don't really want to go diving into Swamp Palace without that hook, but sometimes it winds up being forced, and just the overworld flipper checks in general also available.
If I remember correctly, there wasn't anything in Ice Palace.
No, I don't think that Joss walked out of here with anything particularly interesting. There was an item on the boss, if I recall correctly, so it's entirely possible that Hitman's going to find something here. Joss picking up his Tempered Sword off of Vitreous, and also evening up that crystal count at 3 once again, just a handful of seconds before the hour mark of the seed. Given his options, he's going to go ahead and make that exact same play into Desert. Hopefully he remembers what he found in Skull Woods, and that the fire rod by itself doesn't actually do anything for him, because those flippers are 100% required this seed. And we have Hitman getting ready in one more screen here to drop in on Cold Stare. Going to be a substantially easier fight, more hearts available to him, also the Tempered Sword rather than the Master Sword that Joss had the first time he got here. Not to mention those 2 bottles and the fire rod, so all kinds of additional safety that Joss just did not have available to him. Using bombos to crack the shell, then it looks like we're going to get some fire rod shots, which do all kinds of damage to these Cold Stare buffs, and then probably just finish it off with a few more swings of the Tempered Sword. Kind of difficult to say with the slideshow going on, but, you know, all of the bosses are exploding properly, so he seems to be okay.
Yeah, it looks like he got his crystal okay, despite the little bit of lag we had.
Unfortunately, at least on my end, it ate whatever the actual drop was from the boss. So he could have gotten something there.
Yeah, unfortunately for my end as well, I couldn't see.
But it can't have been anything too interesting, since he's going to go ahead and continue chasing the flipper checks. I would think if it was something like the hookshot, he would be making a beeline for Swamp Palace. Joss is going to go ahead and take this fire rod over to Skull Woods and clear out the back. Does have a crystal that he needs to beat the game, so maybe this is one of those plays where I'm not sure what I want to do next, so let me think about it while I'm doing something relatively straightforward.
He may also just not want to go back into Ice Palace right now. Might still be a bit bitter.
That's possible, but if he knows that he's left something behind on the boss there, that it actually has an item rather than, you know, the non-item here in Skull Woods, you would think maybe he wants to see that first, but, yeah, you know, tough to say. We can ask him in the interview afterwards if he's going to allow us one. And it appears that Hitman does not want to chance Hookless Swamp Palace, is going to make the play into Pendant Pod instead.
I understand that. All the other two pendants have given progression at this point, so what's to stop Pod from giving us some too?
Nothing at all. Sometimes the game is just going to put things for you in pendant dungeons and expect you to go find them. Very quick Mothula kill there, a combination of tempered sword slashes and fire rod shots. And that's going to tie the crystal count back up yet again at 1 hour and 4 minutes. Of course, we have different dungeon completions at this point. Joss with that Skull Woods clear, while Hitman has Ice done. And it appears that the tracker may have consumed an input from Professor Pixie. The flippers have not lit up on Joss's side. I was wondering for a moment if I had just kind of blinked and thought he grabbed them and he didn't, but no, it does appear that he has them, and he's going to go ahead and make his way back to Ice now. While Hitman is dealing with the nightmare of small keys that is the front of Palace of Darkness, you have to find at least 4 out of the 6 checks in the front here, and it can be as many as all 6. There's our first of 2 potential non-small key items on Hitman's side. Just a bottle, not even anything in it. Now with the flute, it's really easy to just go up to the witch's hut and put some kind of a potion in that later. I don't know that it's at all too early to start thinking about what might be on Ped. Let's have a brief think about that, shall we? The hookshot could absolutely be there. The ether medallion as well. Those are really our 2 outstanding items, or, you know, something that happens to lead to them is the other part of that equation.
Yes, there is always the dreaded fetch quest.
And I think we can go at least 3 deep on that fetch quest at the moment, with the book, the shovel, and the mushroom all outstanding. Hitman now into the back of Pod, where most of the items tend to sleep. Getting quite bullied by these turtles. I've seen some runners, now that quick swap is a thing, start quick swapping to hammer for that room to knock one or two of those turtles over to make that a little easier of a process.
Joss entering his refight with Cold Stare.
Much better equipped this time around. I expect that he's going to have his revenge here in the next 10 seconds or so. Getting a little slideshowy there on Hitman's side, but I did notice he grabbed half magic a hot minute ago. And has finally found the big key in the dark maze. Very nearly the last possible location for it. Ah, but there is the hookshot tucked away in the big chest of Palace of Darkness. That's not exactly where that's supposed to go, game, but if you say so, this is rando after all.
And look like he's just noping on out of there from the rest of the checks, and I definitely don't blame him.
Being at this point one item from Go Mode just needs to find that Ether Medallion, and Swamp Palace has 6 item locations in addition to, you know, some dungeon items that you are likely going to find along the way. Rather than staying for a potential 1 on Pendant Helmasaur, actually going to the Crystal Dungeon you need to clear out anyway makes all the sense in the world. We definitely saw a dungeon item on Hitman's side in Pod, but there's also the point where he was slideshowing a little bit, and I'm not sure what a couple of the items were. I'm not sure why Joss likes this particular route to Pod, but this is not the first time I've seen him do it. Maybe going to go ahead and check Pyramid first?
Question is, will he road up to Catfish, too?
We've seen the first dungeon item, a compass on Hitman's side there in the bombable wall chest. And it does look like a catfish play from Joss. This is not going to be the look into Palace of Darkness that we know he needs to make. Still a lot of possible locations for that Ether Medallion to show up, but right now you have to like Hitman's position. If you're a Hitman fan, you think he's in pretty good shape. Until and unless Catfish decides to throw out an Ether Medallion, of course. Not the right coin. We have a Vanilla Quake Medallion off of the Catfish today. And first item of the dungeon on Hitman's side has a piece of heart, is going to go ahead and head straight for the back. Again, kind of hoping to just find that Ether Medallion along the way while he's heading for that crystal boss that he needs to beat anyway.
Setting up for a nice diver down.
Very nicely placed hop. He gets the splash in and back out, and there is the ether coin there in the diver down room. That is go mode at 1 hour 11 minutes and 30 seconds for Hitman. Now, he is going to have to go back over and clear out Skull Woods yet, but that's a pretty quick dive. There's the end of Phase 1 Argus. Looks like we're just going to get a couple of Tempered Sword spins. And the boss goes down, we'll see a few explosions, and then something is going to appear in his hand. It's the big key, which I'm fairly certain Hitman does not care about. Comparatively, that's also crystal number 5 for Hitman, which I expect he cares about very much indeed. Hookshot is in the big chest of Palace of Darkness. Joss is going to be coming upon that here in probably a minute and a half or so.
And Hitman's got his fire rod out, so off to Skull Woods he goes.
Has nothing else to worry about with Tempered Sword and Silver Arrows, Blue Mail and 13 Hearts, half magic already, and 3 bottles. Don't even really need to worry about looking for safety. Not that there's a third item rather left in Skull Woods for him to find. There are only 2, and he's found them both. So we'll see him shine the light on the moth here in just a minute, and then it's going to be time for him to climb up the mountain. Welcome to our Raiders, Crimson J, and Party of 4. Welcome to this Speed Gaming Link to the Past Randomizer Daily Race. This is a 7-7 seed with our 2 featured runners, Joss Bleedin and Hitman. Hitman just hit go mode about 2.5 minutes ago. Joss is looking for his hookshot, which should then lead him to Swamp, and he'll hit go mode shortly thereafter. To answer Monsterman's question in chat, runners do not necessarily always know when they hit go mode. It depends on how well they're paying attention to the things that they actually need to beat the seed. In this case, it's usually pretty obvious. You know there's a dungeon out there that you're looking for one thing to get into. But I have certainly seen races where runners have taken a good 15 or 20 minutes to realize, hey, wait a minute, I already have everything I need to beat this seed. Sometimes everything just comes at you so quickly that even though you've got all of the information to put it together, it doesn't really all click for you.
I think for sure it's definitely also, they get in the motions of, oh, I just have to finish finding things, and they don't realize they have already found everything. Because it's just, oh, there's more checks here, I gotta check them too.
There's the hookshot on Joss's side and the immediate mirror out. I have to imagine we're going to see that play over to Swamp, but Hitman is already done with that moth fight. I certainly blinked and missed it. That's 6 crystals in hand for Hitman. Heading for Turtle Rock is going to be hoping that the Poke Key is dealable, that the Big Key is available in one of the first handful of checks instead. And that otherwise he can blitz that dungeon just as quickly as possible. I use that term advisedly since we have the Ether Medallion as our entry requirement today. So we've got Joss draining the dam, and Hitman just about to hit this ether medallion to open up the entrance of Turtle Rock. It'll be interesting to see what kind of a TR layout we get here. The rest of the seed seems to have been fairly straightforward, although those dips into pendant dungeons seem to have paid out in every single case. So to recap, it was the Mirror and Ice Rod in Pendant Thieves, it was the Fire Rod and Flippers in Pendant Desert, and it was the Hookshot in Pendant Palace of Darkness today. Required dips of all 3 pendant dungeons. And that looked like map and 3 bombs over there on the Fire Rod locked side of Turtle Rock, so we're going to find the one small key that we absolutely have to get over here. We're going to find another small key that we absolutely have to get in Poke Room, so we already know that we have a vanilla big key in this dungeon today. No, you could have gone all the way to Laser Bridge theoretically, but, well, Trinex is still going to require that Fire Rod, so you didn't really want to come here without it.
And yes, sort of, kind of all dungeon seed. Thankfully, not requiring to beat them.
Dip everywhere, but you only actually have to clear the crystals. It's okay. You'd rather not have to go into them at all, but in the cases where you do have to go in anyway, this is the way you would like it to go. Joss is also going to go straight to the back here, going to perform that same diver down trick, and we'll be rewarded with the Ether Medallion here in just a few seconds. There we are at 1 hour, 19 minutes, and 6 seconds. Joss Bleedin has also entered Go Mode. See a bit of a Bruce Wayne over there as Hitman gets bunny beamed. Quick, everybody, don't look. You're going to learn Batman's secret identity.
I must say, I do enjoy the amount of work that the sprite makers have put into these sprites.
There are a great many wonderful sprites and more coming out all the time.
You have a favorite sprite?
For race purposes, I tend to run Rydia from Final Fantasy IV. I also use Plague Knight from time to time, Saitama from One Punch Man, and a whole bunch of others. When I'm just playing casually, I tend to kind of play around and just pick something new to see if I like it. Joss opting for Silver Arrow strats on Phase 2, gets it first try, very nice. And puts crystal number 6 on the board on his side. It's time for his mountain climb, but he's a good half a TR and more behind already. On the main randomizer website, there is an entire kind of sheet of all of the available sprites at the moment. There are, I want to say, somewhere around 200 or 300. You can probably find something that tickles your fancy if you're looking to play as someone other than Link.
I believe there's also like a custom sprite section as well, if I'm not mistaken. If you're so talented as to make your own.
Yes, it is also possible to upload your own and play as that. Hitman here on Laser Bridge has found the mirror shield. And has found the small key in its vanilla location. We had vanilla big and vanilla small there on Laser Bridge.
No luck for a quick TR. Not that there's a lot of difference between Go mode and regular.
It's fairly minimal, but it always feels just a little worse when you don't get to steal that pokey key. We'll have Hitman dropping in on Trinex here right now. With the Tempered Sword, the half magic, this is reasonably free in the grand scheme of things. Couple of rod shots and 5 swipes aside, down go the elemental heads, and we'll wait out a great many explosions. I've always kind of wondered, why does the shell explode like that? Is it some kind of imbalance once the elemental heads have been destroyed? Are there grand forces at work there?
That's a possibility.
And there's a piece of heart with a refill attached for Hitman. Doesn't really need it, was going to get that refill from the crystal catch anyway, but that is finally 7 crystals in hand.
We've got some numbers going on in chat.
Yes, we do, because it is indeed that time. Time at last for Hitman to make that climb of the tower, but to do so, first he has to rummage around in Ganon's basement. 22 possible locations there where that big key might be hidden from him today. He's got to find that key before he can climb the tower. Have an argument with a wizard before he gets to face off with the big pig himself.
Do you have any guesses today?
Oh, I just kind of throw out random numbers. Let's say something silly like 5. 5 seems reasonable for the seed after we've already gone everywhere and done everything. How about yourself?
I might be generous and maybe say 7, which is a lot less than my regular 13.
Well, here's Hitman is going to go ahead into Hope Room. If you find at least a small key here, you can continue on to the right if you want to, but it's just 3 hundo and something else that is decidedly not small key-like. Speaking of things that are small key-like, however, a small key on the torch, that's vanilla behavior from the game. So we're up to 3 checks now and heading into the Stelphos room, where we have 4 more. Looks like Bombos, maybe, nope, Ether is going to be the order of the day after he checks these chests. Seven checks in and still no big key. It's around now that I usually start wondering, should I have just mirrored and gone back to Compass Room? Have some bombs and double firebar chests. We kind of began the seed with explosives and we're going to end it with same. Hitman opting for those Samaria strats for those couple of switch rooms. It's nice with quick swap, it's reasonably easy, and there is the big key at number 9 in the 4-fire snake room.
Congrats to...
I believe Brakeman had Brakeman Zed with a guess of number 9 there. We'll scroll up really quick just to see if anybody else had it, but I do not believe anyone else did. Now with that key in hand, we have Hitman heading right on into this climb, has to maneuver around a few mimics. I think that first silver arrow on that very last mimic got overwritten by that sword beam, unfortunately, so he needed to take one more shot. That is also possible. They were kind of right on top of each other. That Beamos may have taken the silver arrow intended for that mimic. Joss, it looks like, wants the refill here, but almost took a round trip instead. Looks like probably wanted the magic refill before getting down onto the laser bridge with that Caneburna out. Well, Hitman is making fairly short work of this gauntlet, getting a little Beamos, but not too badly. That Zazak was not playing nice, and of course the Beamos never play nice, but here he is in the final portion of the gauntlet room.
They'll be heading up to some of the more satisfying rooms soon enough, and I always look forward to them.
As long as you don't have a Samarialist seed, anyway. Having to go to backup strats there feels terrible because you never do them. At least I certainly never do them. And then you get out something like sword beams or arrows, and you just kind of hope and pray.
Lanmo 2 went down pretty quickly. Technically Lanmo 1 for this seed, but went well nonetheless.
And there is satisfying room number 1. You just walk in, place that Samaria block right in the middle, and light it off. All the wizards go away. This one a little trickier. You have to place that block to the left and get 3 of them and sword slash the last one, but between the 2 of them you get to kill 6 wizards with 2 Samaria blocks. And there is crystal number 7 for Joss at 1 hour 29 minutes and change. He is going to be heading for the tower here very shortly. Could pick up a little bit of time if he decides to go full left. Hitman, about to enter the room with the penultimate chest of the game, is going to powder the anti-fairy and the bunny beam and take the magic refill and say, no, I've got everything I'm really looking for. That chest is just going to have to stay where it is. Contents unopened. And a very cooperative worm there, a couple of spins, and down it goes. He's going to turn his nose up at the ultimate chest of the game as well. Joss, seeing the lack of small key there in Hope Room, is going to be forced into the left-hand side of the dungeon. Hitman having that expected argument with the wizard, the true wizard not playing nicely, throwing blue balls around, making it ever so much more difficult to actually land the hits he needs to make the fight end.
And there he is. Down goes the wizard.
That wizard falls to the floor, and this kind of ghostly-looking pig appears and turns into a bat. Not sure what that's all about, but, you know, I'm sure our runners have seen this thing before. After a while, nothing surprises you. Joss is just a few screens away from picking up that big key, but here's Hitman dropping into the Ganon fight. Ganon telling us about his evil master plan to hold a parade of all of his monsters after he's conquered the Light World. Well, I think our hero has something to say about that. And there's the big key in hand for Joss. Looks like Hitman may have been a couple of swings short of the one cycle on Phase 2, but has probably pushed at this point. Yep, there's Phase 3. At this point, the fight gets a little bit easier, with the blue male not really worried too much. As long as you don't actually hug the pig, you're not going to immediately be burning the fairy that you have in one of those bottles.
And he's definitely probably not worried about getting that torch glitch with half magic.
Yeah, with half magic and silvers, you're not really all that concerned about it. Looks like he's going to hit it anyway, which is going to line him up for a pretty nice double here. Not
Just
quite
missing
hitting
that one.
Yeah, taking the hit from the fire bat unfortunately pushed him a little out of range, but there are 4 silver sticks into that pig from Hitman, and the pig explodes.
GG's to Hitman.
Yep, he's gonna stand there for just a minute with that sword raised high in the air and the fanfare playing, and as soon as this bridge appears, he's going to cross it. Just like that, get your GG's in chat for Hitman1382, who has finished first on the restream and second overall, with a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes, and 20 seconds on race time GG. Having said that, yes, we did have a first place finisher off restream. Shireen finished at 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 50 seconds. So, Joss going with some silver sticks and maybe a few spins as well on these land molas. He's going to mosey his way right on through. We get to see these satisfying rooms one more time. Just throw that Samaria block right on down, light it off, and watch the Wizrobes go poof. Joss winding his way around this torch puzzle a little bit, going to get the last lamp lit with the fire rod. Goes ahead and waits out that chime going off. If you happen to screen transition up that staircase on the exact same frame that that chime goes off, you'll despawn every sprite in the tower and have to mirror back out and start over. Not fun. Not recommended. Ah, Joss is going to check the penultimate chest of the game. There were 50 whole rupees in there. He convinces that worm to cooperate as well, is going to hook across here, and let's see. Ultimate chest of the game with its vanilla value. That could have even been its vanilla contents, but there are 20 or so of those big 20s in the pool, so, you know, we'll never really know. It's not like St. Cart where you can't distinguish one from all the rest. So here's Joss at Aghanim 2.
Let's hope he has a little bit better luck with geometry.
Looks like he might have gotten 2 on the first one, definitely only got 1 the second go round. And there's that blue ball that ruined Hitman's day. But there he is, yeah, that's a 4-cycle Aga 2. One more time, we'll see Ganon crashing into the top of the pyramid. It seems to be something of a tactical error to make this giant hole there, otherwise the hero might not have ever been able to follow him in. But, you know, this is the way things go.
It looks like there was just bombs on the pad for those who were interested.
Well, there weren't a whole lot of interesting things left in the pool. We could have found a bottle, the cape, the book, the shovel. Joss just continuing to bludgeon this pig with the red sword here. Probably needs a couple more hits to get through the second phase. Got a little bodied there by Ganon, and the fire bats were helping out. Was down to half a heart, and so has decided to burn that blue potion, but is now into the easier portion. Phase 3, where things can still go wrong, but yeah, you kind of have to work to allow them to do so.
Not too many warps today, so that's always friendly.
Ganon announcing to the world that, yes indeed, silvers are his one true weakness. Joss also going to go for Torch Glitch, not getting it with the Fire Rod though, so was not in position to take advantage of that nice double like Hitman did. But that should do for Joss as well. 4 silver sticks into the pig, another pig exploding down there in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. That sword raised high in the air while the fanfare plays. Pete there looking awfully pleased with himself, having defeated Ganon and ending his reign of terror, is going to go ahead and cross the bridge into the Triforce room. And get your good games in chat, those GGs for Joss Bleedin, finishing second on Restream and third overall with a time of 1 hour, 38 minutes, and 55 seconds.
GG's to Joss.
And here we are joined in the booth by both Joss Bleedin and Hitman1382. Good game to both of you.
Thanks, Jesus.
So how about all of those pendant dungeons, eh?
Yeah, a lot of progression independence today.
Yeah, oh man, Thieves Town was just loaded.
And desert.
I am glad though that I went to Pod before Swamp. That saved me.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, that was definitely not the best placement for Hookshot.
We both worried about that for a hot minute, Joss, when you decided to flute to 4 and go into the Dark World there, and then I thought, oh no, he's doing Pyramid and Catfish. This is not as terrible as it looks.
Yeah, it could have been worse. I mean, I was a little tilted after the Cold Stare death. That really kind of threw me off.
Yeah, you had a couple of puffs that decided they were just going to bully you into that corner and then run you right over. Which was really interesting in a way because for a very long time, that was the only divergence between the two of you. You deciding to make that fake flipper play into ice while Hitman continued to stay within the logic, and I think at that point was going up the mountain.
Oh yeah, that would have. Yeah, going up the mountain really would have been a better choice at that point.
What kind of led you into Ice Palace at that point? What was going through your mind?
I've been practicing some low percent stuff, and is like, well, I'll try it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right?
Well, the worst that can happen is you left 2 bottle safeties behind in checks that you could have made otherwise that really would have saved your bacon there.
Yeah, I did notice that afterwards, and I was a little upset.
But, that's part of the fun of it sometimes. Just go ahead and try and push the execution and see how far it'll take you.
Yeah, I thought about going at the Ice Palace earlier, but I just kept putting it off and finding things, so it worked out.
I don't blame you. My palace is my least favorite. I would put it off for as long as I have to.
Got really hopeful and then really upset when I saw Catfish. That tricked me for a second.
What was on Catfish?
Oh, it was yeah, the other kind of medallion.
Oh, okay.
Vanilla Quake on the Quakefish. You hate to see it. But yeah, other than those pendant dives, a lot of this was really pretty linear. The seed didn't give you two, I didn't think, a lot of opportunity for divergence.
Yeah, no, it was pretty straightforward. I was just glad that the progression wasn't in the Hookless Swamp.
That would have been cruel, but sometimes Rando is indeed a cruel, cruel mistress. So Hitman particularly is our winner. Do you have any other high-level thoughts on this seed? It kind of led you around by the nose a little bit. It felt like watching it. Was that kind of the feeling you got playing it?
Other than the late Moon Pearl, but whenever it's on Zora, it's usually a last location. Otherwise, it felt pretty good.
Yeah, and Joss, aside from that death to cold stare, it was I think it was actually swinging in your favor right up until that point. We had Hitman kind of following you around. You were maybe 15 seconds ahead for most of it, and then you chose to go there, and he chose to go to the mountain, and you were within seconds of being Crystal Catch number 2 in 2 different dungeons at the same time, and then Cold Stare decided, nope, I'm just gonna bully Joss today.
Yeah, he does that sometimes.
Like I did say earlier, he really does hug very, very, very hard.
Oh well, something to practice some more.
So I guess at that point we'll say, any other final thoughts on this one? It, kind of unfortunately straightforward. Outside of those pendants, there's not a really, well, why did you choose A instead of B? Because the seed was always saying, here's choice A. Well, what about choice B? There is no choice B. Go here now.
Yeah, no, as you said, it just led you around by the nose. It was very, very linear.
I do enjoy the linear seeds sometimes, though. It's kind of a lot more execution based for sure, but then it's sometimes also a little easier to follow along.
Yeah, at least it wasn't a nice rod hunt.
Yeah, happy day,
nice
right?
That way.
You find the mirror 2 checks later, you find the ice rod.
That moment must have felt pretty good for you too, not knowing that, it was required to dip that, and then you find not 1 but 2 items.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Yeah, I always appreciate finding the ice rod, but I think at that moment I was more happy about the mirror.
And when you find 3 items in the front of Thieves' Town, it doesn't really tempt you to go to the back.
Yeah, by and large, the choices for skips like that were paying out for both of you. So let me say, while we do have you both here, Hitman, Joss, thank you both for coming on, agreeing to be restreamed, putting on a show for everybody this evening.
Thank you guys for the restream. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks, Con, for tracking. We really appreciate it.
GG's to both of you.
Yeah,
Jeez.
good game again to both of you. Now, let's go ahead and look forward at the schedule here for just a minute. The speed gaming schedule upcoming for Wednesday, June the 9th. Starting at 11:10 p.m. or a.m. rather, 11:10 a.m. Let's get that right, Eastern Time, and ending in the p.m. is a Final Fantasy Spring Tournament 2021 match. The Speed Gaming Daily Race Series for Link to the Past is going to be coming your way once again, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. That's going to be Open 7-7 again. There is a Super Metroid multi-category run at 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, and a Hollow Knight All-Skills Tournament match starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Getting on in the evening, we've got SMB3 Rando at 8, and a Link to the Past 2021 main tournament quarterfinal matchup starting at 8:10 p.m. The actual runners are going to get underway in that at 8 o'clock sharp, but 10 minutes for the delay for tournament purposes. That, I believe, is going to be a quarterfinal match between Dante and Bwain. Ought to be fun to watch, so go ahead and get out there if you need a little more rando in your life. I think that covers just about everything here, so allow me to say thank you everybody for coming out, giving us an hour and a half or so of your time this evening. Edium pushing all of the buttons to get this restream together behind the scenes, doing all that technical work that has to be done so that we can bring this show to you. Professor Pixie doing the tracking. Jirok13, a wonderful job on your first commentary. Thank you for coming in and volunteering. If anybody else thinks that
Thank
they
you.
might be interested in volunteering, this is an all-volunteer force. You can get onto the Speed Gaming Discord from the main Rando Discord. There's a link in there somewhere. And you can sign up if you think, hey, I can talk about this game, or I don't know that I feel comfortable sitting down behind the microphone and talking about the game for an hour and a half, but I could absolutely push the buttons and make sure that things show up on the tracker. Or if you're one of those technically inclined people who says, you know, I can pull together all of the technical aspects of that restream, I've got the knowledge and the know-how. It's an all-volunteer force, and we would love to have you. So, one final time, this has been the Speed Gaming Daily Race Series, the A Link to the Past Randomizer Open 7-7 seed for today. Our runners featured Joss Bleedin and Hitman 1382. For Jirok13, Professor Pixie, and Etium, I am Mindium. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.